You are listening to the Composing Trust podcast by Culture Solutions, a series on European cultural action with the world. Is Europe still attractive? How is it perceived outside the EU? How do Europeans promote culture together in the world and with which partners? What have they learned together? What is their experience? Our Composing Trust podcast series will address these issues. Welcome to you all. My name is Damien Helly, the co-author of this Composing Trust series by Culture Solutions.
Hello and welcome to Culture Solutions podcast series Composing Peace. In these open format episodes dedicated to international cultural relations, our members freely explore the role of art and culture in times of crisis and conflict. From their power to support communities and foster dialogue, to their contribution to conflict resolution and the material and psychological reconstruction. In 2021, the European Union adopted the concept on cultural heritage in conflict and crisis, recognizing cultural heritage as an important driver of peace, democracy, and sustainable development. So, what can artists and cultural practitioners do to revive dialogue, preserve memory, and build peace? What role can the European Union, as an international actor, play in defending cultural heritage under threat? And what concrete initiatives have already been implemented, with what outcomes, and in collaboration with which partners? This podcast series gives a voice to those who work every day for peace, dialogue, and culture. This episode is available in Ukrainian and English. In this episode, you will hear Culture Solutions member Dr. Daryna Zhyvohliadova. Daryna is a Ukrainian cultural professional and academic with an expertise in contemporary management and knowledge exchange practices for international cultural cooperation, as well as in strategies and tactics for safeguarding heritage during wartime. She went to see the powerful documentary Cuba and Alaska, directed by Yegor Troyanovsky and produced by Olga Bergman as a cooperation between the Ukrainian studio Two Brave Productions, the Belgian one Clin d'œil Film, and the French studio TAC Film.
Welcome to our podcast from Cultural Solutions. My name is Daryna Zhyvohliadova, and I'm the project coordinator of the Heritage Ukraine on the Culture Heritage Diplomacy at KU Leuven. Today we have the opportunity to speak with two frontline combat medics, Cuba and Alaska, who saved the lives of our soldiers on the front line. We'll be talking about their military realities, about humanity and friendship in these extremely harsh conditions of the war. We also have the chance to see their story through the eyes of the director, Yegor Troyanovsky, who himself is currently serving in the military. Cuba and Alaska became the central characters in a powerful documentary of the same name, which was recently featured in the international competition program at Sheffield Talkfest in the UK and in Belgium at Brief. Also joining us today is Olga Bergman, the producer. So Cuba, Alaska, Yegor and Olga, welcome. I would like to start with a question that might seem a little unusual. You have been on a tour for some time now, and I'm sure you have already been asked many questions, both here and in Ukraine. So my first question is, are there any questions that you would prefer not to be asked, either after people watch the movie or during interviews?
Чи є певні питання, які ви не хочете, аби вам ставили після перегляду фільму або під час інтерв'ю?
I don't really have any such questions. I haven't yet come across anything I found completely unacceptable. If I ever do, I'll just choose not to answer. But right now, I can't even imagine what's that might be.
Так.
What's really striking is that international audiences often can't believe what they're seeing, and they ask us if it's really true. And it's strange to hear that, when you've come from Ukraine, where this is just everyday life, you can see that for many people it's hard to grasp that this is actually happening. It's not that the questions are inappropriate, it's just strange when they say things like, that can't be real, surely you've made some of it up, wrote a script or something. People genuinely struggle to imagine that this is what life is like in Ukraine.
Yes, Understand, thank you. And your answer actually leads me to a question I would like to ask all of you. What does this film mean to you personally? Is it more of a testimony, a remembrance of the war, or is it a kind of call to action? And if it is a call to action, is there something specific you would like the audiences to feel or understand after watching the movie?
Чи є щось, що б ви хотіли, щоб глядачі відчули і зрозуміли після перегляду цього фільму?
For me, it's not a call to action, nor is it anything particularly symbolic. It's more like a transmission of a feeling, the mood of that time. That's what the war felt like then, because time moves quickly and the war is constantly changing. Even since 2022, it's already transformed dramatically, and it continues to change even as we speak. So, what the film captures is that exact period, what it was like at that specific moment in time.
Те, що було тоді, в період, поки ми робили фільм, воно є.
Yes, I can add that when Alaska and I first began filming, we honestly had no idea what the final result would be. We agreed to take part, we filmed, but what it would ultimately become, we didn't know. And as Yavor said, the war changes. Almost all the evacuations you see in this film, they're no longer possible today, actually. Back then, we could drive very close to the wounded and extract them under fire, so to speak. Now that's either impossible or extremely difficult. And even back then it was hard, and now it's even harder. So in a way, this is a kind of a story that's already come to an end, because now it's a new pace of war with new ways of saving lives. Combat medics are still crucial, of course, especially those with experience, who can think things through logically based on what they have lived through. That experience becomes a kind of a foundation, a basis for understanding what needs to be done going forward to save lives. But the war has changed. So at this point, for me, the film really is a kind of appeal, a call. Perhaps even a call for help in the form of a more vivid real-life example. Example of what's actually happening. Not through political debate, just raw reality. And I think that can have an impact. It's also a call to the European community. This war is moving forward, and unfortunately Europe is now under the same kind of a threat that Ukrainians once faced. I've been on the front line since 2014. I went to fight, and I was there from 2014 to 2019. And during that time, it felt like a large part of Ukraine, maybe even the majority, was living with its eyes closed. Now I feel like Europeans are also, to some extent, living with their eyes closed.
Thank you, Cuba. I completely agree. I also believe it's so important to share personal stories with the European community about these closed eyes. I remember myself back during the Revolution of Dignity as a young student on the Maidan. Maybe not understanding everything at that time. And so much has changed for us since then. I think now we truly understand that these European values we talk about, they're not just a given. We actually have to defend them. And that's exactly what you are doing, first and foremost. Speaking of film, especially independent one, as a space of freedom, self-expression, solidarity, I would like to ask, what is it that film can convey about this war in Ukraine, about Russia's full-scale aggression, that other media like articles or books simply cannot? Yegor, while working on the movie, did you think about how the power of art, specifically documentary, might raise awareness among European and global audiences about Russia's crime in Ukraine?
Аспекти повномасштабної російської агресії в Україні, які інші, наприклад, форми медіа, наприклад, або книги не можуть зробити. Пане Єгоре, під час створення фільму, чи ви розмірковували саме наскільки саме силою мистецтва, саме через документальний фільм ви можете підвищувати оцю обізнаність в європейської і світової спільноти щодо російських злочинів в Україні?
Documentary film is a very slow medium, especially by today's standards. There are many other, faster ways to communicate the things you're talking about. So, I don't even think it tries to compete with those. It's more a form of creative expression, something for a particular kind of viewer, for those who connect with it, who love it, and who need it. Because even if you live according to your schedule and your own preferences, every person now and then feels a need for something different. And that something different, that's what film like this can be.
Згідно своїх вподобань, кожна людина буває, що хочеться щось іншого. Це інше, це є такого плану фільму.
Дякую. Олю.
As a producer, I imagine when filming began, you had certainly intentions or messages in mind. Have those changed now the film is finished?
Що на відміну від багатьох інших фільмів, які зараз знімаються в Україні, це фільм якраз історія.
When we started this project, what made it unique, especially compared to many other films being made in Ukraine right now, is that this story was told through a very human lens, through two real people, Cuba and Alaska. It's a character-driven story. Over the 3 years we spent making this film, we saw how their lives changed, how the war itself transformed, and how they experienced all of it on such a deeply personal level. And for me, that's one of the most powerful ways to evoke empathy, to help others really feel it. Because when European audiences watch these women, young, smart, incredible women who could be doing absolutely anything with their lives, I mean, Cuba is a talented designer, Alaska worked in media and is a trained pediatrician. So you wouldn't expect them to be the ones going off to war, and yet they made that choice, and they're doing everything they can to defend their country. When people abroad see that they're just like them, it really hits home.
Також у фільмі дуже багато теж тем, яких нам вдалося підняти, це там і батьки.
There are so many topics we are able to include in the film: parents who are abroad, family relationships, the experience of having a child at the front, like Cuba's mom, who worries so much, and also the humanitarian aspects. The girls saved not just wounded soldiers, but also lots of animals. People have told us how kind-hearted and compassionate they are. There's humor, there's friendship. These are universal human values. And that's what we focused on from the beginning. And I think we managed to capture it all.
Трагедії і того, що приносить війна.
What came later and what we didn't expect was the tragedy, the things the war brought with it. What happened to Alaska, what happened to Cuba. I won't spoil it for those who haven't seen the film, but that's the thing. War brings tragedy, whether you want it or not. And that's exactly what the film shows, reality.
Дякую. Куба, Аляска, ви дійсно
дозволили... Cuba, Alaska, you really led the camera into your real life, your life at war.
Чи складно було з камерою, чи відрізняється?
Was it difficult being filmed? Did your time, your service feel different when the camera was there compared to when it wasn't?
Також була камера.
You know, there was and still is just so much work. At the time, there was a huge amount going on in Bakhmut, in Kharkiv, so many wounded. We'd sometimes do several evacuations a day. We even had to bring in other crews, other battalions, just to be able to help everyone. So the work always comes first. And what you see in the film is just a tiny fraction of what was actually filmed. And even that is only a tiny fraction of what really happened. Because honestly, we didn't always remember the camera. We'd forget to turn it on or charge it. Our producer was constantly reminding us. girls, film, film. And if she hadn't been doing that, maybe we wouldn't have filmed anything at all. So I wouldn't say the camera was with us around the clock. Sometimes cinematographers would come out and film, but only for a few days at a time. And yeah, they came periodically, so I never really had that feeling that the camera was constantly following me. It might feel that way when you watch the film, but in reality, all the footage was shot over quite a long span of time.
Фільму, але насправді це там навіть всі ці там кадри, вони там мають якийсь великий проміжок часу між собою.
Аляска, а для вас відрізнялося життя там і робота там, служба там з камерою і без?
Alaska, and for you, did life and service feel different with the camera there?
Honestly, if I had known I'd live to see the release of the film, I probably would not have agreed to be in it. No joke. Cuba and I genuinely thought we wouldn't survive. There was a serious expectation. It might sound like a joke now, but at the start of the war, we really didn't think we'd make it this far. That was the mindset.
Знаєте, я можу сказати, я сподіваюся, сильно не буду спойлерити фільм, але для мене
I really think humor helps us survive. You know, and I hope this isn't too much of a spoiler, but for me one of the most powerful lines in the film was the one about laughing so there is no time to cry. And I think audiences will see that there is quite a lot of humor in the documentary. Sometimes very dark humor, of course, because it's wartime humor. So I want to ask both of you, what kind of humor actually gives you strength? Can you recall a moment, maybe during filming, maybe just during service, that really made you laugh despite everything? Something that comes to mind right now?
Цей гумор дійсно дає сили. Чи можете згадати якусь подію, якийсь момент під час зйомок, саме під час вашої служби, який змусив вас сміятися попри обставини?
Не знаю, не можу нічого такого згадати, я взагалі постійно сміюся. Тому в мене багато моментів, мабуть, і коли...
I don't know. Nothing specific comes to mind. I laugh all the time. Honestly, it's just how I am. So there are loads of moments, and when there are that many, it's hard to pick one out. I can't recall one in particular. Maybe Alaska will remember something else loud.
I'm not sure. Maybe the whole situation around my injury. I mean, it definitely wasn't funny at the time, not at all. But afterwards, well, there were moments that became kind of funny. Even now, some of it is still funny in a weird way. It's more like, not nice, obviously, but there are bits that are a bit absurd. I won't say more though, no spoilers.
I remember when Alaska got injured. They shoved her into some random car and I was pushing everyone away from her. And even in that moment and in its own strange way, it was kind of funny. Yeah, I saw them carrying her and stuffing her into a Zhiguli.
It is kind of funny, but when you're actually living it in that moment, it's not funny at all. Total chaos, people grabbing you, shoving you somewhere.
And I was chasing them off.
And Cuba's running around, shouting and swearing at the top of her lungs. I'm losing consciousness, I yell. I'm going to throw up. That's my standard trauma response. I know it's definitely not funny at the time, but after a while, when you look back, yeah, it's kind of hilarious. From the outside, if it's not happening to you or to your loved ones, it's like something out of a tragic comedy.
Вже бачила відгуки про надзвичайно важливі позитивні відгуки про фільм. І також я
I've already seen a lot of positive reviews of the film, and one of them did call it a tragic comedy. Yegor, do you agree with that it's a tragic comedy? And also, what was the hardest part for you during filming?
Ну, найскладніше було те, що коли ми задумували саме робити з Кубою і Аляскою фільм,
The hardest part was that just as we decided to make this film with Cuba and Alaska, we had barely begun. And Alaska was wounded. And in that moment, their story split in two. It really raised the question of whether we'd even be able to finish anything at all, whether this would end up being a story that just stopped. So I'm really grateful that it all worked out. Actually, it turned out even better than we'd expected. Of course, there's sadness too. The war didn't end in 2023, as so many of us had hoped. The girls didn't get the chance to come home, to experience what it would feel like to return to those places that had been under occupation. But I really hope that the moment will still come, and that when it does, it won't be for the camera, just for life. And that we'll all still be here, safe and alive, to witness it.
Or maybe there will be a sequel, Cuba and Alaska too. But this time it won't be Yahor following us around with a camera. We'll be chasing him.
To some extent, the film defines its own genre, so I don't really have control over that. And it's good that there's a definition that resonates with everyone. It's not like we set out specifically to make it a tragicomedy.
Дякую. І я думаю, ще важливо буде для слухачів почути, тому що
Thank you. I think it's important for listeners to hear that because, of course, we understand this reality is better here in Ukraine, but for the European audience, it's also important to grasp the specifics of your work. And my question is, what distinguishes a combat medic at the front line from, let's say, a medic working in the rear? Is there a difference?
Combat medic at the front line and a medic in the rear are very different. A combat medic is out on the front line, while a medic in the rear is just a medic. It's completely different jobs. Moreover, even the medical protocols for providing care differ from what we do with injuries in civilian life. The way you must provide aid on the front line, at the contact line, it's complicated. Evacuations are difficult and there are many other factors to consider. Plus, the medic's own life is at risk, and in the rear is simply a different kind of work. Though if we are talking about military medics, I'm honestly referring to the role of combat medic. There is also military medics who work at stabilization points at hospitals. They are constantly under threat too. And they might think they don't go to the front, but they are still in danger because Russians continually target and destroy those stabilization points and hospitals. They track them down and deliberately destroy anything connected to medical facilities. That's because medics are the enemy number one. They save lives of fighters who then return to defend their country. And if medics are destroyed, then there's no one left to save others. As a result, more people die. Medics work at any stage, whether tactical evacuation, medical evacuation, or in a medical facility. It's extremely dangerous in any case. For me, this is a much deeper issue, and as we can see, even in the rear, even in Kyiv, even in cities that are considered relatively peaceful, hospitals, maternity wards, and other facilities are still periodically destroyed.
Indeed, the phrase peaceful cities is already quite relative. We understand that every city is under attack: civilians, medical facilities, cultural institutions. And these are deliberate attacks that continue. That's why it's extremely important to talk about this right now. Maybe there are other key messages you would like to share. Personally, I feel that sometimes silence can be even louder than speaking. When we talk to the European audience, certain actions are more important than just words of support. So perhaps you can have some calls to action or messages for those listening to this podcast right now. or when they will be watching the film, about some concrete steps people here can take.
Personally, I want to say the previous question already touched on how the war and the evacuation process have changed a lot. I want to mention that we are now actively trying to introduce robotic systems in Ukraine for evacuating the wounded. These are ground drones that transport injured soldiers, and for me, I like this tour and in general to bring support from European partners or just ordinary people who will donate or get involved. We already launched a fundraiser, and I think there will be more of those campaigns for drones in the future so that we can evacuate and save more wounded servicemen. If we are talking about action, this is what matters to me as I continue to fulfill my duties related to saving lives.
Thank you, Alaska.
For European society to understand that the Russians are a threat to the whole civilized world. If the audience is in Ukraine, they absolutely must go see the film in cinemas. If the audience is abroad, then watch it at least at the nearest festival. Recommend it to friends, write a review, visit and subscribe to the page, leave comments for Cuba and Alaska. What we as producers realize is that feedback from viewers is very important, because when we were making the film, we watched it millions of times and couldn't tell anymore what worked and what didn't. Please write reviews and feedback, connect with us and express publicly what you think about the film.
Те, що ми як продюсери зрозуміли, що важливо чути зворотній зв'язок. Бо коли ми створювали фільм, ми його дивились там мільйони разів, і ми вже не розуміли, що працює, що не працює. Ось написати рецензії, відгуки, якось нам зв'язуватись і висловлюватись публічно про те, що думають про фільм.
Якщо вас цікавить сучасна війна,
If you are interested in the realities of modern warfare and want to truly learn something, Belgian citizens, like others from different countries, can come to Ukraine and train on equal terms. The training is quite professional and lasts a decent length of time. This is a way to take a proactive part in defending the civilized world.
І, в принципі, взяти таку превентивну участь у завідуванні.
Так, дякую вам за цю розмову і слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Thank you all for this conversation, and slava Ukraini!
Thank you for listening to today's episode of our Composing Trust podcast by Culture Solutions. If you liked it, you can subscribe and follow us on your favorite podcast platforms and contact us at culturesolutions.eu.